Hello everybody, this is Ask Joshy. We're back with a brand new deck tech. This is a deck that I brewed myself, and I have never seen anyone else in bronze, silver, or gold using anything like this, so I'm going to take full credit. I'm calling it Poro Overwhelming. It's a play on words from Power Overwhelming, which was an old cheat code in the StarCraft games where you could make yourself invincible and just cruise through the campaign and instantly kill everything. But Power Overwhelming, also an Archon quote, is what I originally called the deck before it contained any Poros. Now that it does use 3 lonely Poros, I figure let's just make it Poro Overwhelming. It's cuter and it's catchier, but here we go. The basis of the deck is made up of 3 parts. The first part is Overwhelmers. Darius, Alpha Wildclaw, and Scar Maiden Reaver are our Overwhelmers at 5, 6, and 6 mana. 6 is the top end of the deck. We don't use any 7 mana, 8 mana, or 9 mana. No Trendemir, for example. So 6 mana is basically where we're trying to end the game, either turn 6, turn 7, or sometimes turn 8. Turn 8 is asking a lot because a lot of blowout cards come on 7, and we have nothing to protect our dudes. We only have spells to make them stronger on power or attack and not toughness, health, whatever you want to call it. So here we go. We're going to start at the very beginning. The third element of the deck, excuse me, is Challenger. So Braum obviously has Challenger. He's allowed to hook and choose his blockers. 3 of Stalking Wolf and also 1 of Rhymefang Wolf makes us have 7 Challengers. We've got 8 Overwhelmers, and the entire rest of the deck is dedicated to staying alive until turns 5, 6, and 7. So let's start at the very top of the deck, card by card here, as you expect from a deck tech. I will also preface this with the fact that in Gold 3 last night, I was able to go 9 and 2 with this deck against a whole bunch of spiders and elusives. The deck does quite well against spiders and elusives because overwhelming their 1 health or their 2 or 3 health on the elusives is pretty devastating on turn 6 and 7 if they're not already set up to brace for impact. Almost nobody is set up to brace for impact. The life-linking elusive can present problems from time to time, but generally we're able to just blast through because no one expects the huge burst that we get on 6, 7, 8, etc. So, Challengers, Overwhelmers, and these buff spells. Elixir of Wrath, we've got 2 of, give an ally +3/+0 this round. That's amazing on Braum because you can use it very quickly. If you actually happen to miss a 2-drop, for example, you have 1 mana, the turn that you drop Braum, you can pull basically whatever you want at that point in the game and pop an Elixir of Wrath on him and get the kill. Lonely Poro is kind of a weird addition to the deck. I actually thought about House Spider first, a 2/2 that spits out a 1/1 whenever it's summoned, but Lonely Poro actually has a bit of an advantage in the fact that it's 2 mana for 2 different Poros instead of a 2/2 and a 1/1. But the Poros that the Lonely Poro creates all have keywords. You can either get a quick attack, an elusive, a fearsome, or a tough Poro, and I don't know if you can actually see that from clicking on him. No, you can't. Maybe if we click all regions and write Poro, and then do show unknown, you can see all the 1 costs. Okay, so there's Challenger, Elusive, Quick Attack, Tough, Fearsome. You cannot get the Overwhelm Poro. You cannot get another Lonely Poro. So these 5 can get spit out. Challenger, Elusive are the best 2 that you can get. Quick Attack, Fearsome being kind of a tier 2, and Tough unfortunately doesn't much help this deck except for providing another blocker and another creature basically to slap all of these buffs on unexpectedly when attacking or blocking. Next up, Omen Hawk is of course a staple Freljord cards. Let's get off of all regions again, go back onto our deck here and get rid of Poro as the keyword. Omen Hawk is just an extremely great 1-drop. If you get to drop it on 1, almost any other creature in the deck is going to benefit from it. Stalking Wolf, Braum, all the way down, Rhymefang, Bjerg, but also if you hit these Overwhelmers early on, sometimes you can get a 9/8 Alpha Wildclaw or a 8/7 Darius. That can be quite fantastic, so Omen Hawk is good pretty much anywhere in the deck. 3 of Avaros and Sentry because you need card draw in a deck like this. You need as many of these burst buffs as you're able to get because they're cheap, and you want to load your hand up with them so that turns at 6 and 7 can be blowout rounds. So Avaros and Sentry, good blocker early, also able to get a Brother's Bond or an Elixir of Wrath of something like that, sometimes take out a bigger creature. People don't expect Avaros and Sentry or Lonely Poro or Omen Hawk to actually get +3/+0 so fast because they're expecting Might, which costs 3, but Elixir of Wrath only costs 1. So a lot of times you can have these really cheap creatures with only 1 attack end up blocking perhaps an Escaped Abomination from Cursed Keeper, something like that, and get that efficient trade. It's 2 for 1 generally, but they're not expecting to lose their units in the early game like that. Elusives, Stalking Wolf is here for that. So Brothers Bond, I don't want to skip over that. It's a 3 of because it represents 4 power for only 2 mana at burst speed. You can slap this on a 1/1 elusive Poro and your giant Overwhelmer. You can slap this on Braum and a Stalking Wolf. You can basically be extremely versatile with it if you've got a bunch of dudes across the board. That's why we've got the Lonely Poros in here, is to just try and make your board wider, and Brothers Bond capitalizes on that greatly. Stalking Wolf, 2-drop that can actually kill Elise, Zed, Yasuo, some extremely popular champion cards, Katarina, if they happen to have a Katarina out somehow. Lux is a 3/3 when she starts. Jinx is a 4/3 when she starts. So Stalking Wolf not only kills a ton of champions unexpectedly, also kills a ton of elusives. Greenglade Duo, the Assassin, the 3/3 that draws a card, excuse me, the 2/2 4/3 mana that draws a card. Even the Ephemeral, if they happen to drop it on defense, can be an easy kill. This guy kills Teemo. This guy kills Ezreal. He's just a freaking awesome card. Stalking Wolf, 3 of, absolutely. Braum, as you may know, is just huge. A lot of times he comes out with the buff from Omen Hawk as a 1/6 on turn 3. That always feels great because he's able to kill, he's able to hook anything with 1 health and kill it immediately, even without all these tricks. Culling Strike is important. Culling Strike is another way to instantly kill a ton of heroes out there, Zed and Elise being 2 of the most popular, but also the ones I mentioned before, like Teemo and Ezreal, that are harder to kill. Culling Strike can kill them at fast speed too. After the attack even, you can drop this on them and just surprise them. Culling Strike is fantastic for things like situations where Braum pulls something that you think he's going to kill. They try to do some shenanigans to save their unit or kill your Braum, drop that Culling Strike right after it, and sometimes Braum just survives. Not just Braum, all your units can benefit from Culling Strike. Culling Strike has the fantastic benefit in this deck, very specific to this deck. If an Overwhelmer, such as the 4/5 Scar Maiden Reaver, for example, happens to get blocked by a 3/3, let's say, normally that would only be 1 trample damage. If you Culling Strike it, it actually opens up the door completely and all 4 damage will go in. Another example here is Might, which is the next card here. Give an ally +3/+0 and overwhelm this round. Let's say Stalking Wolf pulls a Spider or an elusive, and your opponent knows that it's going to die. So they do something like Omen, or they do something like kill X creature to do Y effect. You can actually Culling Strike it and stop it, but you can use Might on Stalking Wolf after that unit is removed, and instead of fizzling, instead of the 3 damage, you know, the card will shake back and forth if its blocker is removed. If you give it Overwhelm after the card is removed, all of the Overwhelm damage goes through. So Stalking Wolf, let's say he loses his target, it gets recalled, it gets killed, so that they can draw cards, whatever it is. Then you play Might on Stalking Wolf to give it Overwhelm, and it will do full damage. That's the same with any of these that already have Overwhelm. They will do full damage against removed blockers. So Culling Strike does come in very, very handy. Might is pretty self-explanatory. +3/+0 and Overwhelm this round. Burst speed, 3 mana. Play it anywhere where you've got like a Babbling Bjerg is being blocked by a 1/1. Suddenly you slap Might on him and a ton of damage gets through that they didn't expect. You're rarely going to be playing this on dudes who already have Overwhelm unless it's your only option. But you can also use Might to save Braum's life. You can use it to save tons of people, or just get an exchange that they weren't expecting on a valuable unit, Yasuo, Zed, something like that. So Might is just an MVP card as well. Rhymefang Wolf is essentially only in the deck because I wanted more challengers. I wanted dudes who do things to fit the game plan, and Rhymefang Wolf, even though he's a 3/2 for 3 instead of a 3/2 for 2, he has the benefit of not spitting out a 1/1 Snowhair, and also the benefit of sometimes instantly killing Braum. Braum does show up a fair bit in Freljord control decks, and sometimes Rhymefang Wolf just kills him. So that's pretty neat. I figure he's worth a 1 of for that case. I also had House Spider here as a possibility because there is only 1 of. It's just I'm not really 100% sure. I'm going to have to play the deck a bit more. Babbling Bjerg is a pretty important card, actually, in this deck. He is our only 4-drop. And so sometimes on 4 he's our only option, but he's a great option because he is more card draw. We've already got the 3 Avaros and Sentry, which are for sure going to die. That's their whole point, is to be played and die. Babbling Bjerg draws the card immediately when he comes into play. So, for example, on turn 4, if you play it on your opponent's attack round, he will grab sometimes an Alpha Wildclaw or a Darius that you can drop at the beginning of your attack round, and they don't expect a 10-5 already flipped Darius, excuse me, 10-6. No, 10-5. 10-5 already flipped Darius or a 7-6 Alpha Wildclaw. Babbling Bjerg fetches, you know, only Wildclaw or Darius because Scar Maiden Reaver is only a 4-5. There was a point in this deck where I had Avarosan Hearthguard, I believe is his name. He's a 5-drop. Where are you at, buddy? Avarosan Hearthguard. I was playing this guy originally because of the same reason we use the Omen Hawk. Whenever I'm summoned, grant allies in your deck +1/+1. That was making some very big Wild Claws, Scar Maiden Reavers, Darius, etc. However, he himself does not have Overwhelm, so I might as well tune the deck a little bit, get rid of these 5-drops so Bjerg doesn't grab him, and Bjerg now only grabs the Overwhelmers. Sometimes Scar Maiden Reaver gets hit by Omen Hawk, but I don't mind grabbing a 5-6 Scar Maiden Reaver for 5 either. Babbling Bjerg, good card. Often sometimes gets buffed by Omen Hawk as well. Great recipient of Might later in the game if he's a 4-4 or a 3-3 or sometimes even a 5-5. Slap that Might on him when he gets blocked by a 1-1, push that extra damage. Decisive Maneuver. This is one of the most versatile cards in the game, I think. I use it in almost every deck that has Noxus in it. But the extreme benefit of Decisive Maneuver, again, in this deck, is similar to Culling Strike. It removes the blocker. So, if you have Alpha Wildclaw, 7-6, attacking a Braum that's 1-6, you Decisive Maneuver the Braum, suddenly Alpha Wildclaw is an unblocked 9-6, and Braum is stunned back to the bench. All 9 of that damage goes through. So Decisive Maneuver can just be an extreme blowout after blockers are declared. Also, you can use it defensively. Very often I do use it defensively. If a round goes poorly, I lose all my dudes, I lose my Braum unexpectedly, I lose my Darius unexpectedly, something like that. If I have Decisive Maneuver and they swing out before I have a chance to play a creature or anything like that, I can Decisive Maneuver the largest threat. Usually that's going to be a super buff champion card or an elusive, Empyrean 6-5 elusive, something like that. But Decisive Maneuver saves lives. The only thing that really messes with it is Deny, and sometimes they don't have Deny. Often they do. Decisive Maneuver is weak to Deny compared to the rest of the deck, and because they cannot deny all the rest of the cards almost, Culling Strike they can deny, but Brother's Bond, Elixir of Wrath, Might are all burst speed. So there's only a few things they can deny. Usually they end up holding it, and Decisive Maneuver can be prone to it. Just saying. In decks with no Ionia, Decisive Maneuver is just fantastic. Again, if a blocker is removed, all of the Overwhelm damage gets through to the Nexus. So stun whoever is going to win you the game. Scar Maiden Reaver, just pretty self-explanatory. Overwhelm, but regen. Braum and Scar Maiden Reaver both regenning ends up being a lot of healed health over time, especially if Scar Maiden Reaver does get hit by Omen Hawk and is a 5-6 or a 6-7. Can be just an extremely great trampler. Means you don't have to use Might on Scar Maiden Reaver. You can use Might on your Wolves and your Bjergs and your Poros, etc. instead. Alpha Wildclaw, very self-explanatory. He's a massive beast. And by the time he drops on turn 6, your opponent usually will only have a 5-5 or a 5 health maximum, and Alpha Wildclaw runs over everything. Also, sometimes Alpha Wildclaw doesn't even matter if he's going to die because you have Culling Strike in hand, or you have Might, or you have 2 Brothers Bonds saved up, something like that. If you drop Wildclaw on a defensive round at the end of your opponent's attack, sometimes you just have 7 mana the next turn and 3 or 4 of these buffs to push him over the edge. I've had a turn 7 with 25 Overwhelm damage before. Darius comes down right after Wildclaw. You want to structure your attack so that Wildclaw hits first, and then Darius follows up behind him. Because if Wildclaw can get their Nexus down to 10 or less health, Darius flips before he even swings, and that added 4 damage can close out games. I've done it many times. In the 20 or so games I've played with this deck, I think I'm around 20-6, or sorry, I'm around 13-6, 14-6, something like that. This current iteration, the latest tweak that I did was Rhymefang Wolf in for a House Spider. Trying it out, but it is 3-1 in this current iteration, so I'm excited to play some more games with it. But that is the gist. You've got your Overwhelmers that stomp right over spiders. A ton of spiders will be 3-1s, 5-1s, whatever it is, but Alpha Wildclaw sinks 6 damage to the Nexus. Darius sinks 5 or more damage into the Nexus. Decisive Maneuver can just knock them out of the way completely if they present a threat later. Culling Strike gets rid of spiders a lot of times. Braum does a great job of clearing out spiders. And essentially, every card in the deck is stacked in your favor to try and end the game on turn 6 or 7. So that is it for this deck tech portion of the video. I'm going to play a few games now, and hopefully we get some good ones so that we can have some good examples. But for the first few games here on the stream, we're on twitch.tv/AskJoshi for the day. We are going to be playing a whole bunch of this deck just to see how it fares against a variety of opponents. I think it's best against spiders and elusives. The biggest problem that I had last night was other Noxus decks and me just doing misplays, not accounting for weird blocks, not accounting for a couple of different spells. Playing into Deny feels bad. Sometimes you just have to do it because you're going to die if you don't try a Decisive Maneuver or a Culling Strike, something like that. And then me not playing around Rasa. Rasa is an extremely popular card right now, the 7-drop Shadow Isles. I'll just show it to you actually. He is actually pretty mean against this deck because you're often going to have 2 large bodies only by the time he comes out. He is going to make it his point to get rid of all your Poros and all your Wolves before dropping Rasa the Sunderer, and something always dies this round in Shadow Isles, so it's very difficult to play around Rasa if your dudes are already out and already buff. Keep in mind, one thing I did not mention with Brothers Bond. Brothers Bond is a permanent buff. Grant 2 allies +2/+0 for the rest of the game. All the rest of them are for 1 turn only. Elixir of Wrath, Might, and Decisive Maneuver all are only for 1 round, but Brothers Bond can make Braum huge, can make these Tramplers, these Overwhelmers huge, and Brothers Bond is just a fantastic card in this deck. Okay, last note. Now we're going to go play some games. Thanks for watching. If this is as far as you got, check out twitch.tv/AskJoshi. And, of course, like, subscribe, comment on YouTube to continue seeing these Legends of Runeterra videos. Thank you. Do Poros nibble or do they munch? That is a great question. Egar, I actually think I played him last night while tuning this deck. So pretty often what I'll do is mulligan for permanence. Elixir of Wrath is so cheap and good that I tend to keep it as well. But everything else I'm looking for just permanence, and by that I mean followers and champions. You're gonna mulligan anything under 5 cost. Or sorry, you're gonna mulligan anything 5 or more. So Scar Maiden Reaver, Darius, and Alpha Wildclaw, toss it back. Any spells that aren't 1 Elixir of Wrath, toss it back. And Omen Hawk is our strongest turn 1 play. I'm going to do the typical mute and wave. I love the wave because I am playing Braum in the deck. But this is my typical thing. I just don't care to see other people's emotes. Yeah, we can attack because he can't block. And we have a chump that could actually kill this if he attacks right away. So I did say Noxus was where I sometimes run into problems. This is a Elise Darius aggro deck that I actually also have built, and I think credit goes to Nimsh, if you know who Nimsh is. Oh, here's a cool trick that we can do. You can actually get around Fearsome with these burst buffs, and I'll show you exactly how to do it. So my 1/1s right now, if I try to block, obviously it'll say units with 2 or less power can't block a Fearsome unit. However, if you burst them on your bench, people think Poros are relevant, by the way, and they remove them over other creatures. Poros are not relevant in this deck. Move it to your bench, suddenly we can block and trade. We did have to use an item, but Fearsome Spider is not something we want to have to contend with when Elise is a component of his deck, and he's got a ton of spiders in the deck. We already know this. So Stalking Wolf plus Poro is an option. I think we usually play things in lower priority first. This is how I always structure this. You play the lower priority guy first, That way if they do have removal, they don't hit your more valuable thing, which right now is a 4/3 Stalking Wolf for only 2 mana. What is he doing? He is doing something. It's Vile Feast, but that's okay. He's going to make a spider. And now we get a chance to play Stalking Wolf. Which is fantastic for us. And we'll just kill the spider if he attacks with everything. We'll let the 3/2 go through most likely. I do have Culling Strike as well. Oh, I'm attacking. Even better. Let's do that. And he can block either one of those. That's fine. Another objective of this deck, I will say, is to clear out as many blockers as possible. Should be pretty self-explanatory. We're trying to push damage at the end of the game, so cleaning house is basically our primary mission here. Get rid of all the blockers we possibly can. Babbling Bjerg, fantastic draw on turn 4 because he's our only 4-drop. We're going to get a stunned wolf, and we could Culling Strike this 3/2 immediately, but I think Bjerg as a 4/4 is actually going to be pretty powerful. He's not going to want to attack into that. And we can save Culling Strike for later to open up the door for Overwhelm damage. So we'll see what he attacks with. He only has 1 mana. I'm not really scared of that. He might have Elisa's spider spawning or something, but we're going to kill spiders and take the rest. It's a little counterintuitive to give them a bunny, but here's the thing about the bunny. They don't want the bunny. They want their own guys. They don't want a 1/1 clogging up the works when they could have a 4/4 or higher, right? Especially something that actually fits the theme of their deck, like a big spider. Okay, he's got 1 mana. I don't know what he could possibly have. Spider Shot is too expensive. Vile Feast. I always call it Spider Shot. Deal 1 damage, make a spider. Spider Shot. He does have something. Okay, it's Mark of the Isles. He's going to get +3/+3 in Ephemeral, so it's going to kill my Bjerg, but it's also going to die. So it's the same as Elixir of Wrath, essentially, in this instance. And actually, I think that's a bad use of it, personally, but he doesn't know what's in my deck, so... We're going to go to turn 5 here. Unfortunately, we do not have a permanent that we can play. So, what we're going to do here is, because Darius is next, and it's not going to be on an attack round, we're going to get rid of our biggest threat. I don't want to pass, just in case he doesn't play anything. Actually, he is Noxus. Yeah, actually, we're going to pass. We're going to just pass and see what he does. Because worst case, we have Decisive Maneuver. Like, if he doesn't play anything, or if he just ends the turn, it's still not too terrible because we're banking 3 spell mana. I could actually even Culling Strike the 3/2. We'll see what he plays. He doesn't want to play into... Okay. Well, he did play into it. So that's fine. And now we have this situation where we don't actually need... Man, this is rough, actually. Do I want to do this? Or just save him as a blocker, potentially? Yeah, let's get a little bit of overwhelm damage right now. Let's make it easier for Darius to drive it home later. We still got a couple of spell mana. This will deal 5. And he's only down to 2 cards right now. Decisive Maneuver defensively could happen here, and then Darius on our turn. We'll just have to see what he does. Taking 4 here would not be bad at all, so he's down to only 3 cards. I think we have pretty good value here with Culling Strike, Decisive Maneuver on our side. And these are 2 fantastic cards as well.
Okay, ready.
I don't want to use the Culling Strike yet, so we're going to wait. See what he does. He knows I can't block or cast him. Okay, so he's going to have a 4/4. Culling Strike did just miss it. Darius actually blocks all of this. Let's see, how big is... Sometimes you need to check the stats because Omen Hawk hits things. So Darius cannot die to just 1 unit here. He would have to use a card. And I'm okay with him using a card because I have another Darius.
Step away, coward.
Let's see what he does. Also, Overwhelm is all I'm interested in, really. He could have Spider Shot or Black Spear or something like that, but it's not, again, not a huge concern because we're going to have spell mana. We're going to have another Darius that we can play with 3 mana, Culling Strike to open a door. Okay, Brothers Bond still kills the crowd favorite. We expected this, sort of. Unfortunately, you cannot reply with Culling Strike. I didn't have the mana anyway. Perhaps it would have been smarter to kill that fella earlier. Then the crowd favorite would only be a 3/3, and you know, other considerations. Oh, another Brothers Bond. Are we dead this turn? That is 13. And now we cannot play the... Okay, well, that's... I mean, that'll happen sometimes. Oh, wait. I thought we were dead. We're not dead. Wait, why did I think that was 13? It's only 10. We good. Because we got another Darius. Actually, 2 Darius. Jeez. It was 11. Excuse me. I can Culling Strike the bunny out of the way. Oh, he's gonna stun. So this is a problem. We're gonna Culling Strike. Shoot, this is rough. Okay, so definitely Culling Strike here. He has no cards in hand, so Decisive Maneuver on his attack round can hit the 7/2. We have no idea what he's gonna draw, but Decisive Maneuver is our trump card here to hopefully survive. Block the 3/1 bunny. Decisive Maneuver the 7/2. He thinks he's won because I can only block one thing. We're going to try it out. He does not have access to Deny in this deck. We'll see what happens. No idea what that card is, but I'm getting more scared of it. I can play Braum immediately off the back of this, which is fantastic for us. Or I could play the Wolf and just kill the 7/2. That's probably a smarter play. We'll see what we draw as well. Sweet. Okay. I think this worked out pretty well. We're going to play the Wolf because he can kill the 7/2. We may hold mana for Decimate, or we may use it right away. I haven't decided. If he plays a creature, I'll play Braum. Probably. Oh, actually we have 9 total mana plus 1 in order to cast 9 mana of stuff. So that's great. Let's just start with a Braum. If he plays a creature, we can hook it as well. Unfortunately, we didn't draw any buffs just yet, so we are going to have to kind of play this out. Okay, now we do want the Poro.
You're not alone.
And we'll still have mana. Ooh, it's an elusive one, which is good for us. We'll still have mana for Decimate afterwards, but not Darius if Darius dies. Darius should not die because I will be able to hook the 7/2 and the 2/2. Here we go. We're going to hook here, and we're going to hook here. And let the rest happen. No idea what his card is. He did not play a creature when he could have. Should put Darius at the end of the line. Don't forget that. Because if the Nexus did happen to somehow get... Oh, that's unfortunate. Good draw for him. Still gonna deal 5. Do still have a Darius. He doesn't know that. I've got 3 blockers for 3 dudes, even though I'm only 2 health. Can't play Darius. So if he attacks right away, obviously he's not gonna kill me. He's gotta play something. Okay, that's actually a pretty good one for him. I don't think it wins him the game. The 3/3 is currently unblockable, but I'm going to be able to play Scar Maiden and block it. Just double checking here. He has no cards in hand. Let's do Darius then. Higher probability of closing the game immediately on the swing back than Scar Maiden Reaver.
My axe is ready.
So I think we've locked this up now. No cards in hand. He may just concede. I'm going to be able to hook with Braum. Well, he could draw something. He could draw something, so he's not going to concede. He's going to force me to lose some dudes here.
Coward. Help is underway.
If he's running the 1 mana knife and I lose to that, I deserve it. Pass and swing immediately. We'll probably draw a buff. I just haven't seen very many buffs this game, so it's highly likely. Nope, it's going to be Bjerg. This deck runs Might also, but yeah, he had no cards in hand. So we're going to draw that over here and try to hit for a bajillion. What is his card? It is a game over. GG. Can you believe I thought I lost this game earlier when he was only doing 11 damage? I thought it was 13. Anyway, we ended up winning. So just forgive that minor ignorance, but you can see now the deck works really well. Decisive Maneuver saved our bacon. Some other good stuff happened. Darius, drawing 3 Darius also does help, but that could have been honestly could have been an Alpha Wildclaw and still performed pretty similarly. And I think that was a pretty good example game. So let's continue on to the next one. Anyway, here we go. Sub-Zero Amalero. Let's toss all of these. Keep the Hawk. Mute and Wave. Boop. 2 Hawks and a Braum. Versatile card. Not sad. Not sad about that. So he's got Braum Zed. This is actually usually an elusive deck. Which means challengers are very valuable. Culling Strike is very valuable. Especially on Zed himself. So he's choosing not to attack. I kind of want to attack. Darius is bigger, but he's a 6-drop. We're going to bank 1 mana. Buff some more dudes. My next creature is going to have +2/+2, whatever it is, wherever it is. He's going to play maybe a wolf? Maybe an Avarosan Sentry? Oh, it's a Conspirator play. Not bad. I can actually Culling Strike that. If he blocks... No, I can't actually. Yeah, well, it doesn't matter because I can't block his crap anymore. Let's see what he does. Little chips in the early game mean easier blowouts in the late game. With our Overwhelmers and our combat tricks. Another Omen Hawk, obviously. Avarosan Sentry's huge. Okay, so Braum on defense will not be able to block that. So let's just go ahead and Culling Strike this fool. We don't want him hitting for 3 every turn. He has no mana for Deny. Could play another, yep, Omen Hawk. Passerino. Oh, he hasn't attacked yet. So. Decisive Maneuver actually represents more damage than he is, so I think I'm just gonna skip. And pass. Braum is not very strong right now unless we get a burst spell. Let's play the lower priority card first. And then we can decide Braum or Avarosan based on what he does. Spooky. We can actually play both of these. Okay, he's making his dude slightly bigger. Braum. What? That's a 5/6 up there. Jeez. Okay. A 2/1 and a 3/2. Only this round. And a 5/6. Let's do this in Avarosan, I think is fine.
There, I'll spot him.
Decisive Maneuver could be massive on my next swing. Let's just only swing with this and see what he does. Maybe draw a card, maybe kill a 3/2. Okay, that's fine. Alpha Wild Claw. Okay. So this one is kind of a weird line of play. Hopefully it works out. But we're looking for a decisive maneuver on my attack turn instead of right here. So we're going to play Braum.
Is it the mustache? Who knows?
Follow my lead.
We can actually hook the 5/6 to Braum, then decisive maneuver it, and give +2/+0 to everybody. It's pretty nice. We'll block one thing here, the 5/6.
You are
We
safe
could have a
with
combat trick.
Braum.
We'll see. Alright, so decisive maneuver here.
It is easy.
We're not going to pull that because he'll kill Braum. Oh yeah, we are going to pull that because we're going to stun him.
Let's go out
And we will immediately decisive maneuver? Yes. He can decide to block, you know, but we're going to get damage in. Can also brothers bond because we're not going to be able to afford any of our tramplers right now. Wild Claw would come first. Actually, Darius can come first now because we have two of them. That does nothing for you. He wasted that card.
Do they need our help?
Is that permanent or round? Yeah, that does nothing. It sends him back to bench. I don't know if he knows that. Let's brothers bond because Braum can get fatter and the fearsome can get slightly more fearsome. Perhaps I should have put it on the bird. We'll see. Okay, that doesn't matter. And we'll get in for 8, which means Tryndamere lands upgraded.
You'll thank me later.
You'll thank me later. Pass. He's probably going to attack immediately? Actually, I don't think he will. Ooh, another brothers bond. Did I say Tryndamere? Mr. Darius is what I meant. Okay, he's got a 7/6 elusive. 7/6 elusive. He's not going to want to tangle with my dudes. He's going to want to hit with him. Obviously. He does not have recall mana currently.
I'll handle this.
So he's probably going to only attack with the 7/6. Yep. I have Decimate and Brothers Bond. If Darius lives, I win, I believe. What else you got? You got a 7/6 elusive? You got anything else? Your little birds and old men gonna be stopping me? We'll find out. And we have 3 mana, so we don't want to use Brothers Bond because we can just cast it later. Exactly the same manner. Swing out. We have no hook. Probably want to do Darius last, in fact.
Noxus will walk.
And this is lethal, so he will act, and then we can use our buffs accordingly. Deny is not possible because they are both burst spells. And Deny is a fast spell, so I can play this reactively. Oracle Eye is very helpful during moments like this. Brothers Bond, you want to spread the wealth. Probably put the Trampler on
How did that move go?
him. 5. Okay, so we can do this guy.
Strength above all.
And we can put Brothers Bond on the 2 Tramplers and still have Decimate at the end. Or another Darius, if necessary, but I think that's GG. So that was a good example. Elusives did not cut the mustard. We were able to hook and kill a conspirator. And then the Empyrean just didn't matter because we were too big, too much damage. Decimate is slow, so you can't cast Decimate if Darius dies because then you just play another Darius. But I had the mana for Decimate on my turn still, so I would have been able to chuck 4 damage at it if Darius lived and I didn't somehow kill the Nexus. So that was another good win. I think that was another good example. And I think that will be our first complete deck tech video here for Poro Overwhelming, my brew with Darius, Braum, multiple combat tricks, and multiple challengers. Thank you for watching here on Twitch and here on YouTube, wherever it is you're watching. Don't forget, I do stream on twitch.tv/AskJoshi almost every single day. I try to stream as much as I can. And if you're watching on YouTube, please like, comment, subscribe. Check out future Runeterra videos. Check out past Runeterra videos. I'm going to be, you know, knee-deep in Legends of Runeterra for the foreseeable future. So thank you, everybody who's been consuming my content so far, and everybody who's just finding it for the first time. You're all appreciated, and I'm going to keep at it if you'll keep watching. Thank you.